Eileen Gu's response to J.D. Vance after criticism of her representing China over USA. Eileen Gu's response to U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance speaks volumes after he criticized her for representing China over the United States at the 2026 Winter Olympics. Gu, 22, won the gold medal in the women's halfpipe freestyle ski final in Vatalina, landing a score of 94.75 points with her third and final run. Her second run, which scored 94.00 points, would have also been enough to win the event ahead of China teammate Li Fanghui and Team GB's Zoe Atke. She also won silver medals in the women's big air and slopestyle events, and is now the most decorated freestyle skier in Olympic history. Gu was born in California to a Chinese mother and an American father, and represented the United States at junior levels and in the 2018-19 Freestyle Ski World Cup. In 2019, however, she decided to formally request a change of nationality to China ahead of the 2022 Winter Olympics, which were to be held in Beijing. She said at the time, "The opportunity to inspire millions of young people where my mom was born, during the 2022 Beijing Olympic Winter Games is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to help to promote the sport I love. Through skiing, I hope to unite people, promote common understanding, create communication, and forge friendships between nations. If I can help to inspire a young girl to break a boundary, my wishes will have come true." Gu, who is an undergraduate in international relations at Stanford University, has soared in popularity in recent years. She is now not only one of the most well-known female athletes on the planet, but also one of the highest earning. As per The Athletic, the 22-year-old earns $23.1 million per year from various brand and sponsorship deals, endorsements, and modeling contracts. It is reported that only $100,000 of that amount is made up of her skiing earnings. Prior to the Olympics, she had 2.1 million followers on Instagram, a figure which has now almost doubled to 4.1 million. Gu's popularity descends freestyle skiing, image, Getty. In an interview after qualifying for the Olympic halfpipe final last Thursday, Gu suggested, "If I wasn't doing well, I think they probably wouldn't care as much." That comment related to the criticism she has received from sections of the media, and from some high-profile figures, back in the United States over her decision to represent China 7 years ago. During an appearance on Fox News while the Games were ongoing, U.S. Vice President Vance was asked about Gu's decision to switch to China amid political tensions between the two countries, and whether her status should be changed. "Look, I've no idea what her status should be," he replied. "I think that's ultimately up to the Olympics Committee. I won't pretend to wade into that. I certainly think that somebody who grew up in the United States of America, who benefited from our education system, from the freedoms and liberties that make this country a great place, I would hope that they would want to compete with the United States of America. So I'm going to root for American athletes, and I think part of that is people who identify themselves as Americans. That is who I'm rooting for at this Olympics." When asked about Vance's comments, Gu replied, "Via fortune, I'm flattered. Thanks, JD. That's sweet. So many athletes compete for a different country. People only have a problem with me doing it because they kind of lump China into this monolithic entity, and they just hate China. So it's not really about what they think it's about. And also, because I win. Like if I wasn't doing well, I think that they probably wouldn't care as much, and that's okay for me. People are entitled to their opinions." Featured image credit, Getty. When Eileen Gu stood at the top of the halfpipe in Beijing, the world didn't just see a skier preparing for a run. It saw a question. Which country does she belong to? The question wasn't new. It had followed her for years, whispered in comment sections, debated on news panels, argued across dinner tables. But after she chose to represent China instead of the United States at the 2022 Winter Olympics, the whispers became headlines. And then came criticism from U.S. Senator J.D. Vance. He questioned her decision. Questioned her loyalty. Questioned what it meant for an American-born athlete to compete under another flag. But if people were expecting outrage from Eileen Gu, they misunderstood her entirely. Because her response was not loud. It was deliberate. The making of a both-and athlete. Eileen Gu was born in San Francisco to a Chinese mother and an American father. She grew up skiing in California, spending weekends on snowy slopes while balancing schoolwork with elite training. At home, Mandarin filled the air. At school, English ruled the hallways. She was never one thing. She was always both. For Gu, identity was not a switch to flip. It was a bridge to walk across. When she announced in 2019 that she would represent China in international competition, the decision wasn't framed as rejection. It was framed as connection. She explained that she hoped to inspire millions of young girls in China to take up winter sports, girls who had never seen someone who looked like them soar through the air on skis. To her, this was an opportunity to expand possibility. To critics, it was a betrayal. The political crossfire. When J.D. Vance criticized her choice, his remarks echoed a broader anxiety about loyalty, about national pride, about what it means to belong. The subtext was clear: if you were born in America, shouldn't you compete for America? It's a question rooted in a traditional view of citizenship: one flag, one allegiance, one side. But Eileen Gu has always lived in the hyphen. Chinese American. Not Chinese or American. Chinese American. That hyphen unsettles people. It refuses simplicity. It resists the idea that identity must be exclusive. So when Vance's criticism gained attention, the world waited for a rebuttal. They expected a press conference, a fiery tweet, a pointed interview. What they got instead was something quieter and more powerful. Her response: calm, not combat. Eileen Gu didn't trade insults. She didn't engage in political sparring. Instead, she repeated something she had said many times before. I'm not trying to make a political statement. I'm trying to inspire young girls. It was a subtle reframing. She didn't accept the premise that her choice was political warfare. She described it as personal purpose. When pressed about representing China while still having American roots, she emphasized that she felt grateful to both cultures. She spoke about growing up skiing in Lake Tahoe and spending summers in Beijing. She talked about her grandmother, about cultural pride, about opportunity. She declined to turn her identity into a battleground, and in doing so, she quietly shifted the conversation. Instead of debating which country deserved her, she focused on what she could give. Performance as the loudest answer. And then she skied. If criticism questioned her loyalty, her performance answered with excellence. In Beijing, she won 2 gold medals and 1 silver. She became one of the faces of the Games. She smiled for cameras, switched seamlessly between English and Mandarin in interviews, and carried herself with poise beyond her years. Every spin in the air, every clean landing, every confident wave to the crowd said something louder than any tweet could.